Hello, welcome to another Nickjitsu video. It's been a wee while. Sorry about that. I hope you're all well. Thank you to all my subscribers and new subscribers. Welcome to you. I've been away doing an EDM project featuring synth guitar, a rock band project featuring synth guitar, and a pop project. Yeah, I don't even have to say it anymore, do I? Anyway, I've had a massive amount of email over the past year, including one from Mrs. Edna Scrobes of 23 Acacia Avenue, who writes, "Dear Nick, I've seen your band many times live, and towards the end of the set you tend to play Won't Get Fooled Again by The Who. Can you show us how to play the organ introduction on guitar? P.S. Charlotte from next door, number 22, says that Pete Townsend has a lovely organ. Do you have a lovely organ?" Well, Mrs. Edna Scrubs of 23 Acacia Avenue, tell Charlotte she needs to get her eyes checked, because it's not a lovely organ, it's a Lowry organ. So, meet the new me, same as the old me. Won't Get Fooled Again is probably my favourite Who song, and I've been playing it for years and years and years with the Lee Aaron band. Note that, Lee Aaron. The intro was part of a demo that Pete Townsend was writing for a rock opera called Lifehouse, and it's meant to be the moment where the band and the audience reach spiritual nirvana without the use of 4 power chords and a whiff of teen spirit. The song ended up on The Who's next album. Yeah, but what was it called? Ow. Egypt. So the sound itself was created on a Lowry organ, which is a kind of tremolo effect, and then that's put through another synth, the unforgettable EMS VCS3, which creates the filter. So I'm going to show you just on using a guitar sound, so it's a bit more universal. So you can use a phaser, a flanger, a kind of wiggly, wobbly kind of thing on guitar, bit of overdrive. You don't need to be full-on Rivera or Quad Cortex in my case. You can kind of roll off the volume a little bit. Depending on the day of the week it is, what I've had for dinner, what underpants I'm wearing, and what state my nails are in, I'll play this with a pick, or I'll use just my fingers. In the intro, I just use my fingers. In the intro of the intro, yeah. The squeeze technique you use, you put the pick over the top of the A string, and you kind of put your fingers underneath the adjacent strings, just underneath it, and squeeze like that. Very therapeutic. Now, when you do it without the pick, I use my thumb, index, middle, and ring finger, P-I-A-A, P-I-M-A, Pima. You squeeze the fingers together, okay? Like you were amusing a small child, but you were toyless. The other wee thing you can do is you can squeeze the actual chord, squeeze the fingers to get that real staccato sound that you're playing. So we're going to start by playing the A chord, and then let that ring, and then you actually start the kind of synth part by playing an A sus2, which is just an A major with the suspended second in it, the B. So you're playing the open A, second fret on the D, second fret on the G, open B. And what you're going to do is you're going to keep these three going almost all the way through, but the little melody is going to appear on the B string. So you're going to play open B, second fret on the B, and then second fret on the G. So B, 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 C sharp, A. And then we're going to go up to an A power chord. And we're going to play the A power chord. We're going to play the open A, second fret on the G, and then fifth fret on the B, and then down to the third fret on the B, and then second fret on the B. Like that. Then you switch to this kind of, it's like a D sus4 over A. I'm not going to name all the chords because you'll end up with the chord name police coming out going, oh, that's actually a time of diminished chord if it's a Wednesday and the number 72 bus goes past the window, but only if it's facing west. These kind of Egypts. Forget them. It's that chord there, right? You remember it how you want to remember it. But it's basically open string A, fourth fret on the D, second fret on the G, and third fret on the B. And what you get this little figure. That's just D, 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 C sharp, and then B on the G string. So when I play this, I'm only playing the A string, the D string, and the B string at first. And then I play the B on the G string. So can you see that with this hand, with my right hand? So I only end up playing these three at the end. And you'll see that happen throughout. And then we're going to switch to it's almost like a D minor chord. Or a D minor major 7 chord. I said I wouldn't name the chords. It's compulsive. Absolutely compulsive. Sorry. It's a D minor with a bit missing. So what you're doing, open A, third fret on the D. When you need it, you've got the second fret on the G. And then you're going to play the second fret on the B and third fret on the B. So that's just C sharp, D. And then you're going to change figure, which is C sharp, B, C sharp, D. And again, with this hand, watch what you're picking. See that? So, and then we get to the fun part. We've got this big chord, which is quite awkward, and sometimes I get wrong and play that chord. Doesn't really matter. What you basically got here is you're playing the open A, you're playing the fifth fret on the D string. You've got this little figure on the top, which you're going to keep as you move through the chords. So that's fifth fret on the B, third fret on the B, second fret on the B, second fret on the G. So D, E, D, C sharp, A. Now, you hold down the open A and the G here. So you can, it's like an A7 chord. Said I wouldn't name the chords. Blah, blah. So it's a bit tricky to get your fingers in just the right place, but you then change back to that kind of D minor-y type thing, but it's the same figure. It's still... So you're literally just moving this note on the D string from the fifth fret to the third fret. And then on the record, he moves it back, but I like to have that little bit of respite from that kind of awkward stretch, because I don't always get it. Sometimes you're playing on a cold stage, or you're playing an outdoor gig in the summer, which I'm in England at the moment. So playing outdoor gigs in the summer, no matter how hot it is during the day, it's freezing at night. So what I do is I go to this chord, which is just like an A, like straight ahead A. Same figure on the top. Back to the kind of D minor-y one. Back to the awkward one, which I always get right by the second time I play it. And then back to the D minor one. And then we're going to completely change what we're doing. So we're going to go back to the A, but we're going to play this little figure. We're going to change the melody over the top. So we're playing second fret on the G, second fret on the B, third fret on the B. So we're playing A, C sharp, D. But we're keeping down, open A, and we're keeping an E on the D string, which is the second fret. So you get kind of an A power chord, and then and it's my right hand that's doing the and then you do exactly the same thing with this hand, same notes, except we change the E to an open D this time. So we're still playing open A, open D this time, second fret on the G, and we're keeping that same figure going. So you keep that going a couple of times, and then we do exactly the same thing again, but we introduce an F onto the D string. So that's open A, you've got the third fret on the D, second fret again, yada, yada, yada. After you've done the back to the D minor, you move up to that D sus4 kind of thing, where you've got the pinky on the fifth fret. Everything the same, everything else the same. And then you just move that down a fret, so you actually get a D major for the first time. And you play that for, I think it's 2 bars. You play that little figure. Then it goes into a straight A power chord that you're going to build. You're going to put notes on top of it. We're going to put an A on the top, E on the top, and then A on the top string. The way I do that is I just add fingers. That's kind of why I prefer playing this with fingers. And then you're into the actual kind of main part of the riff. So that's how I play the intro. It's relatively simple, but because there's no actual fixed melody and no fixed amount of bars, it can be quite difficult to remember. It doesn't really matter whether you remember it or not, because the audience doesn't remember it at all. They only know the sound. So if you get something approximating the sound, you can get away with anything, basically. Now, when it comes to the kind of middle or end part, however you see it, you can do a few different approaches. Number one, you can ignore it completely and just have a drum solo and then go straight back into it. Number two, you can do the Van Halen approach, which I've never learned, but he just kind of does does something like that. I did learn it once, the whole thing, note for note. I've got it written out somewhere. But it's not that easy to remember, and it's really awkward to play. I'm not gonna lie, it's really awkward. It's full of little where you've got threes and then twos. 1, 2, 1, 2. Can't do it anymore, but I used to be able to do it. Now, if you want me to do an accurate version of that next part, that kind of middle part, then put a doodah in the comments down below. And when I get time, I'll sit and practice that, because it was actually good fun. It was a good learning process to actually do. But it will take some time, so be patient, please. I've got a lot on this year. What I tend to do when I play that middle section is I've got 2 approaches. Number one, when I remember the bits, I'll actually start I'll actually start putting in the actual beginning that comes in at that time in the song. Normally, though, I forget all about that because I'm panicking about various other things and playing with pedals and all that kind of thing. So what I'll do is I'll just... play kind of something resembling the intro again. But what I will do is I'll start improvising around with it and choosing little bits that I very badly remember from actually learning the real part. You know, start mucking about like that. And then I give the drummer a kind of wee look. And then he basically starts with his drum solo. And I play... and then back it off with a volume controller. Then he goes into his solo. And then we come back in with a mad kind of... we do a drum and wah-wah solo, which is quite unusual. And then we go back into the song. So next time you're at a gig, check that out. You know, everybody gets their cameras out for the drum solo anyway. Film it right to the end, where you get the little wah-wah kind of drum battle kind of thing. And then we go back into the song with it. Back to that again. Now, just in case you don't know, the rest of the song, I'll go through very, very, very quickly. You've got that little figure there, which is the A, G, and D. I think Pete Townsend does it like that. But then Pete Townsend never had me as a guitar teacher. So he's always going to do something that's a little bit different. Plus, I need to kind of play certain chord voicings because of the synth, because I'm playing synth at the same time as guitar all the time. So, G, D, with a jazz note in between. That's what we call the Dawson technique. Then goes on to the tip my hat to the new revolution, whatever that is. Well, that's just D and A. Pick up my guitar and play. Well, that's just G. And then E. I play it up here. And then do whatever, you know, silly little wheedly thing that I can kind of cram into that space and time. And then get on my knees and pray. Won't get filled again. So that's pretty much the whole song, really. There's a bit in the middle that goes to B. What was it? I buy a new hat for the something or other. And that's just B. That goes to E, and then to A, and back to B again. And it's got that kind of status quo bit in there because maybe Francis Rossi from Status Quo taught Pete Townsend. And then it goes into that kind of little riffy bit. Which is B, just a little B triad, an A triad, and then E triad, like that. And then that goes to A. Back to the kind of original train of thought. Just as a tiny, tiny aside, one of the other things that we do at the very end of the song is we play a bunch of A's. So we play the normal kind of A, the second position, and then we play the A kind of bar chord in the fifth position. It's always the same three strings I use as well. It's always the D, G, and B strings. And then A at the kind of C position at the ninth fret. And then I kind of cheat, I run out of A's and just play this one, which is the same as that one, but up an octave. And then we do a bunch of other like noodly shenanigans and all that kind of thing. The funny thing is that the audience starts clapping at that point, and I think they're secretly thinking, he really knows his chord inversions. I think I'll come and see this band again. To give you a little insight into the actual synth guitar sound I use, I don't use a Lowry organ preset, although you can find one. There'll be one somewhere, you know, a copy of one or a clone of one somewhere on Tinternet. I use my very trusty Icarus synth made by Tone 2, which is kind of my workhorse really, because it's really stable compared to a lot of other synths. And it plays very nicely with the triple play. That has a Lowry kind of sound in it, which I use. And then that goes into Baby Audio's Transit for the kind of modulation effect. And then that goes into a plugin called the Fron DAW, which I saw on Studio Life. Thank you, Sean and Dan, for the recommendation. I could quite easily put a tremolo effect on the chord itself and then... But the problem with that is that you're stuck with that timing and your drummer would have to use a click track. Now, most of the drummers that I play with don't use click tracks. That means that the song can speed up or slow down depending on how much Red Bull, Guinness or pork scratchings the drummers had to eat that day or drink. So that's why I use this technique. Because I can play at the speed of the drummer or he can play at the speed of me, but he will inevitably ebb and flow his timing a little bit. And at the end of the day, there's going to be nobody sitting in the front row that's going, well, I'm really cheesed off that he didn't use a tremolo effect. So I hope that's given you a wee insight into how to play Won't Get Fooled Again. The intro anyway, and maybe the middle part. And you can take those ideas and use them in your own music. You're literally just taking a chord and sticking some notes over the top. I know that sounds daft, but when you do it with a squeeze technique, you kind of get a kind of articulation. Obviously, it's more rhythmic, but there's an articulation to what you're doing as well, which can sound quite interesting. And it takes away from the normal kind of just strummy kind of stuff. You'll hear lots of people do it. Van Halen does it on things like little guitars. And of course, he did it on Won't Get Fooled Again. And if it's good enough for Van Halen. So, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to do the like, subscribe, and all the thing with the doodah and the bell and everything like that. I'm off to have 7 giraffes and rest my MIDI pickup. Look at that. It's suffering from all the work it's been doing. Poor wee thing. From me and the 7 giraffes, Sláinte mhath.